Hersom Acorn Newspapers, publishers of the Greenwich Post, New Canaan Advertiser, the Darien Times, the Ridgefield Press, the Weston Forum, the Wilton Bulletin, the Reading Pilot, the Lewisboro Ledger, the Monroe Courier, the Eastern Courier, the Trumbull Times, Fairfield Sun, Shelton Herald, the Stratford Star, the Milford Mirror, and the Valley Gazette.
This is the HAN Network, the leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.
This is your coffee break on the HAN Network.
It's Thursday, October 1st, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, back in our Shelton studio today. Joaquin is making plenty of news in the region this morning, but we also have a lot more headlines, including another teen shot in Bridgeport this week and an honest discussion about a growing heroin problem in Fairfield County. We're also going to be taking a look at the front pages of our HAN newspapers this week. And of course, Donald Ang will be bringing us a look back on this day in history, and we have a lot more. But first, on to the news this morning. As we said, many towns in the area are preparing for the potential landfall of Hurricane Joaquin. In Fairfield, for example, First Selectman Mike Tetro, on behalf of the Fairfield Emergency Management Team, said the storm may bring strong winds and heavy rain, and they're asking residents to do the following things to help. Please check and clear storm drains, secure any yard items that might become windblown, check on elderly or disabled neighbors that may need assistance, and make plans to have supplies on hand for any power outages. Many other municipalities have alert system, and residents are urged to sign up for those. You can find those at your local HAN news site or, of course, by searching your town's website. Governor Daniel P. Malloy said on Wednesday, September 30th, that his office and state emergency management officials are closely monitoring the activity of Hurricane Joaquin, which is currently in the Atlantic Ocean, and they're advising Connecticut residents to closely follow weather reports and prepare for the possibility of its arrival over the next 5 days. And of course, the forecast is leading to some events getting canceled this weekend, including the Concourse de Caffeine, which we spoke about earlier this week, that was originally scheduled for Sunday and has now been canceled. Well, moving on to some other news today. In Bridgeport, a city teen is in critical condition after a shooting in Trumbull Gardens Wednesday afternoon, according to the Connecticut Post. Police responded to reports of shots fired in the area of Trumbull Avenue and Terrace Circle around 4:15, according to public safety spokesman Kevin Coughlin. A 15-year-old black male suffered a single gunshot wound to the back of the neck and was transported to St. Vincent's Medical Center in a private vehicle. The victim is listed critical but in stable condition, according to Coughlin. Detectives are actively investigating the incident. A 17-year-old was fatally shot in a drive-by shooting in the Hollow section of the city just the day before. 9 people were shot, including one fatally during an early morning shooting at the housing complex in June. Anyone with information regarding that incident should contact the Bridgeport Police Department at 203-581-5201. Well, according to the New Canaan Advertiser, anyone entering the New Canaan Police Headquarters last Monday would likely have been greeted from behind the glass by Sergeant John Milligan in uniform. He was back on the job after serving a 3-month suspension, part of his negotiated penalty following the New Canaan Police Commission hearing for termination because he had inappropriately kept his ex-wife on the family medical insurance coverage. Looking fit and trim and smiling broadly, Milligan has been assigned to a clerical position. However, his union contract stipulates that he is eligible for overtime, as are all officers, and on Monday he was filling in for someone, allowing him back on a supervisory duty and patrol, which he said was gratifying. New Canaan Police Chief Leon Krolikowski was asked by the Advertiser by email to clarify Milligan's status, but he chose not to respond. In a show of support by union members, Milligan was re-elected president of the police union, according to his sister and attorney Candace Fay. He had been the union president for the last round of negotiations with the town, which became extremely terse. During the hearing in which Milligan faced termination, his union representative insisted that Milligan's aggressive negotiating tactics were a factor in the town seeking to have him dismissed. To review the months-long hearing, you can get more information at ncadvertiser.com. Well, the Milford Police Department and staff of the state Connecticut Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and Tobacco Prevention and Enforcement Program, that's a long title, recently conducted unannounced compliance inspections of businesses that sell tobacco products. The inspections were performed to determine compliance with state laws concerning the prohibition of sale of cigarettes or tobacco products to anyone under the age of 18. Under the direction and supervision of investigators, an underage youth entered the establishments and attempted to buy tobacco products. A total of 19 unannounced compliance inspections were conducted. Of those, 3 establishments were found to be in violation of Connecticut general statutes, which carries a $200 fine. The offending clerk at the establishments were also cited, police said, and the cigarette dealer license holder at each establishment now faces additional administrative sanctions from the Department of Revenue Services. Establishments found in violation in Milford are as follows: the In-N-Out Mart at 186 Bridgeport Avenue, Howard's Variety at 34 Naugatuck Avenue, and MS Convenience at 1201 Boston Post Road. Well, a majority of Ridgefield's Planning and Zoning Commission have agreed that medical marijuana is a legitimate palliative drug used to treat serious diseases, and that allowing dispensaries and possibly production facilities in Ridgefield should be given a serious look. According to Chairman Rebecca Muccetti, while there's no consensus that yes, we want a regulation, there is a consensus that we want to take a longer look at having one. Muccetti said the town's second one-year moratorium on marijuana facilities runs out in November. The commission reached that consensus Tuesday night at the end of a far-ranging discussion that was guided in part by a 19-page packet of information put together by town planner Betty Brocious. The State Department of Consumer Protection has issued 6 licenses for dispensaries and 4 for production facilities. The State of Connecticut DCP will be issuing 3 additional licenses for dispensaries from 19 applications submitted through mid-September of this year, she wrote. During this second round opening for additional licensing, the town of Ridgefield has received about 3 phone calls from vendors interested in locating a dispensary in the lower Fairfield County region. The closest operating dispensary is in Bethel, and Brocious shared what she learned while talking with the Bethel town planner. That facility in Bethel opened October 2014. In March 2015, the town planner said there were no complaints, no police reports, and there had been no impact on the neighborhoods nearby. She said the facility operates like a doctor's office or clinic with scheduled appointments, resulting in low traffic volumes. The planner offered to provide testimony as to the lack of noise, traffic, and impact of the operating use, and favorable remarks she has heard from patrons who have benefited from the service. According to Brocious, the owner of this facility has been interested in opening up a business in Ridgefield. There is a lot more on that story at theridgefieldpress.com. Today, Donald Ang is filling in for Rob. And Don, it's like olden days. Do you want to give me a look at today's weather?
Yes, I can. I can certainly do that. Hang on one second as I look.
I don't know if you were ready for it.
I
I kind of surprised you with it.
That was a bit of a surprise, but that's okay. It's let's see. Hold on one second. Just give me like.
So Don
2
used to.
seconds
Don
here.
on the Coffee Break team initially was at our Traffic and Weather Command Center.
The command center.
And so I
yes.
thought, he should fill in today and give us a look at what the weather's like for this cloudy Thursday.
Yeah, it's not going to be too bad today. We're looking at a cloudy day. Temperatures rising to about 60, maybe 61 or so degrees. And then tonight, chilly, cooling off about 49 for the low. And then tomorrow, what can I tell you? Rain comes in the late afternoon, and it's going to be in the 50s. And then rain Saturday, rain Sunday. It's for having not had any rain at all for about 2 months, we're going to get about 3 months worth in the next 48 or so, 72 hours.
Right. All right, Don. Well, thanks. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Donald Dang is going to give us a look back on this day in history. And we have a lot more news coming up on your coffee break after this.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
While the temperatures are cooling down, the fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait that are abundant in the Long Island Sound. If you love the New England coast during autumn, this is the time to be on the water. The latest from Shimano, Quantum, Avet, Hoagie, Phase 2 and more are in stock and ready to go at the dock shop. And don't mind those fall breezes with jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece from Grundens and Stormer. The dock shop will keep you warm and dry. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The dock shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances, where community comes first, a place where there's more than one kind of interest, where automation will never replace consideration, where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
And we're back on this Thursday edition of Your Coffee Break, live from our Shelton studio. I'm Kate Czaplinski, and now it's time to throw it back over to Donald Eng, who's going to give you a look back on this day in history.
I'm actually prepared for this one, so I feel exactly. Well, it was a television event for which you cannot find any television coverage, and the star got a surprisingly low-key intro. But first we go to 1890. Yosemite National Park, established by the U.S. Congress. The park covers an amazing 1,160 square miles and attracts 3.7 million visitors per year. Virtually all of those visitors, by the way, stay within about 7 square miles known as Yosemite Valley. 1908, Ford puts the Model T car on the market at a price of $825. It was the car that made motoring accessible to the middle class. The Model T packed a 2.9-liter four-cylinder engine with a whopping 20 horsepower, capable of traveling almost 20 miles on a single gallon of gas. 1918, in World War I, Arab forces under the command of T.E. Lawrence capture Damascus. If you want to learn more about that, there's a really, really long movie. 1964, the Japanese Shinkansen bullet train begins high-speed rail service on the Tokaido line from Tokyo to Osaka, a distance of about 320 miles. Shinkansen literally means new trunk line, referring to the high-speed rail network. The original bullet train made the trip in about 4 hours. Within a year, they were down to just over 3. Today, you can make the trip in 2 hours, 22 minutes, at a maximum speed 177 miles per hour. By the way, in case you're wondering, the Tokaido line carries an average of 23,000 people per hour. It has never had a fatal accident. And finally, 1962. Well, you saw something, but you're going to hear it now. There was this.
And now, the permanent star of the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson. Oh, you'd think it was Vice President Nixon. Johnny?
That was the first broadcast of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. Almost no footage of the first 10 seasons of The Tonight Show exists because the practice of recording over previous shows was commonly used at the time. Johnny Carson starred on The Tonight Show for 30 seasons. That's your look back in history, and I am Donald Ing.
Thanks, Don. Well, now AJ Simonowski, he's going to give us a look at high school sports. I almost said a look back at high school sports. Well, that's kind of what he's doing.
A look all the way back to Wednesday.
All right, AJ, you're up.
Thanks, Don, for finally turning my mic on. A short day in high school sports yesterday as we do take a look back. You like that, Kate?
Uh-huh.
Volleyball, we saw McMahon beat Stanford 3-1, but Senators led by Molly Fisarelli with 50 assists, 18 service points, and 4 aces. Meredith Pellegrino with 28 kills and 25 digs herself. Also in volleyball, Ludlow over Trumbull 3-1. Alice Nelson had 30 digs for the Falcons. St. Joe's beat Wilton 3-1. Julia Shivani with 23 assists, 5 digs, and 5 service points in the loss there for the Warriors. Trinity Catholic over New Canaan 3-1, Staples over Central 3-0, and Ward over West Hill 3-1. Boys soccer saw St. Joe's beat Stanford 1-0. Matthew Reese with the lone goal in the 78th minute for the Cadets. Staples beat McMahon 3-1. Josh Berman, Timmy Lyles, and Daniel Reed each scored for the Wreckers. Ludlow beat New Canaan 1-0, and Jack Scoville had the goal for the Falcons. Greenwich over Norwalk 1-0, with Alejandro McLean scoring for the Cardinals. And finally in boys soccer, Trumbull beat West Hill 3-1. On the schedule for today, a lot of games currently scheduled. As I said yesterday, with the rain, who knows what's going to get played and what's not. But here's what's supposed to happen. Girls soccer, we have Danbury at Ward. Trumbull visits West Hill. Stanford heads to St. Joe's. McMahon to Staples. Ridgefield heads to Darien. Greenwich takes on Norwalk. Ludlow at New Canaan. And Trinity Catholic at Wilton. On field hockey, Wilton plays Darien. Staples takes on Norwalk this evening. And McMahon at Trumbull. In volleyball, only one match scheduled at the moment. Ridgefield would take on Ludlow tonight at 5:30. And finally, girls swimming and diving, Darien takes on New Canaan, and Danbury will take on Trumbull. Today with sports, I'm AJ.
All right, AJ, thanks so much. Well, now we're taking a look back at, I keep saying taking a look back. It's because of Don's history report.
My fault.
But this is a little back. This is last week. Getting back into some headlines this morning. At last week's Straight Talk at the Depot event in Darien, titled Lifting the Veil, Facing the Hidden Drug Epidemic in Darien, representatives of the police department shared grisly examples of recent drug-related crimes and police encounters. Oftentimes becoming emotional, officers painted a picture of a Darien very different from its public image as an idyllic suburban safe haven. The talk was the first in a 2-part series co-sponsored by the Depot and the Darien Police Department, meant to teach the community about the impact of the prescription pill and heroin epidemic. For an audience of about 30 parents, mental health professionals, and children, police shared several disturbing stories. They talked about get-togethers known as pill parties, at which teens experiment with stolen prescription medication, as well as the arrest of a Darien couple that spent $150,000 on heroin. There's also been 28 overdose deaths in Fairfield County between January and July of this year. They said emergency response to a heroin overdose happened on Corbin Drive, and intervention in the case of a mother and son who used heroin together. Police also said there's 4 Darien young adults heard on a Stanford wiretap and 13 Darien residents taken to Stanford Hospital for heroin overdoses in 2013. Those stories are all part of what the police describe as a desperate fight against a raging prescription pill and heroin problem. It's an epidemic that is, according to police, entangling Darien teenagers. According to Sergeant T.J. White, these are Darien kids. These are blue waivers. And White also offered the audience a look at seized drug paraphernalia so parents could recognize the materials. Darien police have seized 136 units of heroin so far this year in Darien. Sergeant Jeremiah Marin said, "I feel we're really not even making a dent." He went on to say, this stuff does not know borders. Police are working with their counterparts in neighboring municipalities as well as with federal agencies to combat the epidemic. Part 2 of Lifting the Veil will be held November 5th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Well, according to the Associated Press, a new annual report required by state lawmakers shows there were 85 sexual assault complaints from members of the UConn community in 2014 and 7 students expelled for committing sexual assault. The report posted online this morning is more comprehensive than the federal data the school released last week that showed 43 reported rapes on campus in 2014, up from 18 the previous year. The state report includes reports of sexual assaults committed both on and off campus and sexual assaults that were reported in 2014 but had occurred in previous years. According to the report, 59 of the UConn sexual assaults occurred during 2014, and 46 allegedly were committed by members of the university community. 24 victims chose not to participate in the university disciplinary process. There were 13 university disciplinary proceedings for alleged sexual assaults. 7 students were expelled as a result, and 5 found not responsible, and 1 student canceled his enrollment before going through the process. The report also showed there were 18 reports of stalking at UConn during that calendar year, 17 involving a member of the school community, and 28 reports of intimate partner violence. 4 of the stalking reports resulted in disciplinary cases by the school, 1 student suspended, 2 placed on probation, and 1 student cleared of the charges. The report does not indicate how many of the sexual assault or other cases resulted in criminal prosecutions. Yale, which puts out a report every 6 months, reported 42 sexual assaults in 2014, 29 during the first 6 months of, and 13 during the second. The school had 15 stalking incidents reported, 10 in the second half of 2014. The reports were mandated by the legislature in 2014 after a series of high-profile incidents, including a Title IX lawsuit that eventually was settled with a group of young women who alleged UConn responded to their claims of sexual assaults with deliberate indifference or worse. Well, taking a look at some Stratford news today, hundreds of residents there were surprised last week when they received additional bills for sewer services. The Stratford Star reports that many residents complained after receiving extra bills for rooms added to single-family homes. Those accessory apartments, often called in-law apartments, are usually not billed. Some people on septic systems also received bills from the town. A town official says that a database update is the cause of the letters, and some recipients won't have to pay more. Dennis Manella said he received a bill for sewer service for an accessory apartment at his home on Overland Drive last week, and he was not pleased. He pays about $450 for his sewer services. Manella said he was told by someone at the town assessor's office that an error was realized and the town should have been charging for those units for the last 20 years, and they had a right to make the billing change. There's a lot more on that story at StratfordStar.com. I'm going to throw it back to Donald Dang for another look at Thursday's weather and what you can expect. Don?
I'm ready for you this time, Kate. Yeah, actually, you know what? The National Weather Service is sort of downplaying slightly the forecast here. We've got a cloudy day today with a high in the mid to upper 60s, about a 10-mile-an-hour wind. It could gust as high as 25 or so miles an hour. Tonight, slight chance of rain late tonight, early tomorrow. Otherwise cloudy with a low down to around 49 degrees, not 29 degrees. And tomorrow, rain likely after 5 p.m., cloudy with a high near 55. Chance of precipitation, according to the National Weather Service, 60%, about a quarter inch of rain possible. And then tomorrow night, rain likely in the during the day, then showers after 7 p.m., low down to around 47 degrees. 80% chance of rain Friday night, and then a 50-50 chance of rain throughout Saturday, 56 for the high, 50 for the low. Rain likely again on Sunday into Sunday night, and Monday is where it starts to look pretty bad. According to the National Weather Service, tropical storm conditions possible. High of about 69 degrees. So, wish I had better news for the weekend, but, it is what it is. We'll stick around and get through it.
All right. Thanks, Don. Well, we're going to take another break and come back with some more news after this.
Highcote Rockefeller Estate is Westchester County's top cultural attraction and is now open for the season. Don't miss out. Go online to hudsonvalley.org to plan your visit. Take a drive out to beautiful Sleepy Hollow, New York, and enjoy Highcote's stunning architecture, breathtaking gardens, expansive art galleries, and commanding Hudson River views. From world-class art by Picasso and Warhol to expertly tended gardens, there's something for everyone. Highcote Rockefeller Estate, a National Trust for Historic Preservation Landmark. Back to school means back to busy, and Stewart's Market can save you precious time by stocking all of your favorite essentials under one roof. For a healthy start to school, we have all the ingredients. Walter Stewart's, your family-owned fresh local market, 229 Elm Street and at stewartsmarket.com.
Tired of all the bull? Relax and enjoy the experience of buying a car at Pamby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. No bull allowed.
Have no fear. HAN Network's Fast Frights movie contest is here. Can your film make the cut? Submit your 3-minute scary movie today for a chance to win a DJI Phantom 3 drone, sponsored by Milford Photo. The only thing to fear is missing the deadline.
And we're back with this Thursday edition of Your Coffee Break. I'm Kate Czaplinski, bringing you today's headlines. And in some other news today, a Danbury police officer has been placed on administrative leave after he was arrested on grand larceny charges in a series of vehicle break-ins, police said. According to NBC Connecticut, the Dutchess County Sheriff's Department notified Danbury police that one of the department's officers, 28-year-old Anthony Ramos of Pawling, New York, had been arrested. Ramos and another man, 26-year-old William Tyson of Pawling, were charged with fourth-degree larceny, which is a felony. Danbury police relieved Ramos of duty and put him on administrative leave after finding out about his arrest. Deputies from the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office responded to Arthur'sburg Road in LaGrange, New York at about 1:40 in the morning on Friday to investigate a reported car break-in. Ramos and Tyson were found near the reported incident, and the investigation linked them to the larceny and others in the area, police said. Police took both of the men into custody on accusations of going into unlocked cars and stealing property from them at multiple homes. Both men were charged with fourth-degree grand larceny. They were released on promises to appear in court. Police recovered GPS units and pocketbooks stolen in their cars. The case remains under investigation as police work to see if they are connected to other larcenies. Danbury's police department has launched its own internal affairs investigation. Well, devotees of the dive can rejoice. Ernie's in Darien has returned. It was quite a panic that swept through town and online, according to the Darien Times, when Ernie's, a Darien staple since the days of Prohibition, closed its doors in May for the first time. At the time, the stated reason was renovations, but many feared it was closed for good. Current and past Darien residents have lamented its loss and on Facebook shared the many memories they, their parents, and in some cases their grandparents had from Ernie's. Some also said those memories were private because what happened at Ernie's stayed at Ernie's. However, a new sign recently appeared that said Shea Ernie's. Other than planning and zoning confirming a new liquor permit had been applied for, not many more answers as to what the status was were forthcoming. But as of Thursday, September 24th, it was official. Ernie's is back. New owner Steve Palmer told the Darien Times his aim was to preserve Ernie's character as much as possible. Not much has been done to the basic structure of the small establishment, but it has been cleaned, updated, and polished. The bar and floors are refinished. Gone are the beat-up bar stools with ruptured cushion stuffing. The bathrooms have also been overhauled, repainted, and redone. But like the previous incarnation, Ernie's will maintain its accessibility at all hours for Darienites in need of quenching their thirst or in search of a sympathetic ear. It will be open every day at 10 a.m. and close at 1 a.m. Sunday through Thursdays, 2 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. Well, the League of Women Voters in New Canaan had planned a candidates debate, and that's now been canceled, according to Lisa Vasquez of the League. She told this to the New Canaan Advertiser on September 30th. That event was scheduled for October 19th. She said the League of Women Voters of New Canaan has decided not to conduct its traditional debates in 2015. Instead, the League is preparing a nonpartisan voters guide to appear in the New Canaan Advertiser on October 22nd, which will include all candidates from all offices. The New Canaan Advertiser was a supporting sponsor of the debates, while the League maintained control over all decisions about if, when, and how the debates would be conducted. Last Sunday, the League announced that incumbent First Selectman Rob Malazzi confirmed to them that he would not participate in the candidates event. The League then decided not to have an empty chair debate, with petitioning candidate for selectman Michael Nowacki having the stage alone. The League of Women Voters, a private organization, cited their internal policies that read, if only one candidate accepts the invitation, the debate should be canceled. When canceling the First Selectman debate, the League announced there would only be a debate for Town Council, which has 7 candidates for 6 seats, but that decision held until September 30th, when they made the decision to cancel the entire event. And there's a lot more on that story at ncadvertiser.com. But we're going to wrap up this portion of your news. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, our editorial director, John Kovach, is going to be joining me, and we're going to take a look at the front pages of our HAN community newspapers this week. So that's coming up after this.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark Building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
While the temperatures are cooling down, the fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait that are abundant in the Long Island Sound. If you love the New England coast during autumn, this is the time to be on the water. The latest from Shimano, Quantum, Avet, Hoagie, Phase 2 and more are in stock and ready to go at the dock shop. And don't mind those fall breezes with jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece from Grundens and Stormer. The dock shop will keep you warm and dry. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The dock shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances, where community comes first, a place where there's more than one kind of interest, where automation will never replace consideration, where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
Highcote Rockefeller Estate is Westchester County's top cultural attraction and is now open for the season. Don't miss out. Go online to hudsonvalley.org to plan your visit. Take a drive out to beautiful Sleepy Hollow, New York, and enjoy Highcote's stunning architecture, breathtaking gardens, expansive art galleries, and commanding Hudson River views. From world-class art by Picasso and Warhol to expertly tended gardens, there's something for everyone. Highcote Rockefeller Estate. a National Trust for Historic Preservation Landmark. Back to school means back to busy, and Stewart's Market can save you precious time by stocking all of your favorite essentials under one roof. For a healthy start to school, we have all the ingredients. Walter Stewart's, your family-owned fresh local market, 229 Elm Street and at stewartsmarket.com.
Tired of all the bull? Relax and enjoy the experience of buying a car at Pamby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. No bull allowed.
Have no fear. HAN Network's Fast Frights movie contest is here. Can your film make the cut? Submit your 3-minute scary movie today for a chance to win a DJI Phantom 3 drone. Sponsored by Milford Photo. The only thing to fear is missing the deadline.
And we're back with your coffee break. I'm Kate Czaplinski, joined now by our editorial director, John Kovach, because it's Thursday, so we must take a look at the front pages of our HAN community newspapers. John, what's jumping out at you?
Well, the big stories are in the papers that you've got over there,
Right.
and that the homicide in Shelton,
Right.
the shock of which not only being felt there, but in nearby Trumbull.
Yeah, there's deep connections in Trumbull and Shelton. Lisa Infante, murdered by her husband, allegedly. He also allegedly confessed to police. Thomas Infante was a public works employee for the town of Trumbull. Lisa actually volunteered with Trumbull EMS as well as Echo Hose Ambulance in Shelton. So those two communities definitely left reeling. They had 4 children together, and it's just a horrific case. Thomas Infante initially fled, according to reports, made it almost all the way to Ohio before turning around and turning himself into police on Monday. So just a really terrible, awful story that is still unfolding. And I know there's been a collection set up for the children.
Yeah, just awful that there are children left behind, and just a stark reminder that this does happen in our community.
Right. And, staying with the Trumbull Times and looking at it because, there's this connection here, which is right now the Center for Family Justice is launching all of its candlelight vigils. And, of course, this murder, a horrific example of domestic violence. And the Clothesline Project is also on the front page of this week's Trumbull Times. And that is a really moving project where people who have been victims of domestic abuse or have witnessed it can write on a T-shirt about their experience.
Oh, wow.
And they kind of design these T-shirts, and then they all get hung up on a clothesline outside the Trumbull Library. And so that's going on right now. If you go to the Trumbull Library, you can take a look at all the T-shirts that are hanging there. Definitely a connection there. We do want to try to get someone from the Center for Family Justice on soon to talk about those upcoming vigils, which are happening in a lot of our area towns.
Taking a look at the Stratford Star, just a picture that has the big screeching halt effect that I always say a headline or a photo should have, where a truck drove through a Nichols Avenue home. And actually, this is the second crash of which I'm aware in which a vehicle has struck a house on Nichols Ave. I covered one when I was still editor of the Star, and it was a similar circumstance. Here, the vehicle, a pickup truck driven by a Monroe man, entered through the garage, then went through the living room and dining room, then out the back of the house after it veered right. It may have been caused by a medical issue. Wow. 3 of the 4 people who lived in the house had gone to the store to return a rented movie, or they would have been home.
They would have been home.
A lot in the Stratford Star, where the town council is going to have to host a Freedom of Information training session after being found in violation. And good news for theater people. And Stratford, proud of its theater tradition with the endless debate about the Shakespeare Theater. Square One, which is a local theater company, and they've kind of been bounced around. They just lost their home at the theater downtown. They will be at Johnson House this season, so that's kind of a good spot.
Yeah, that is a good spot. All right, well, I'm taking a look at the Monroe Courier. An interesting story that the tax collector is looking for nearly 1,000 people, and those people actually will be excited about it because the tax collector said the town owes tax overpayment money to more than 850 residents and former residents, including 9 people who were owed more than $1,000 and one who is owed a whopping $3,500. You could be one of those people, so you need to pick up the Monroe Courier and find out more about that. That's pretty exciting.
2 questions.
Yes.
1, does the town pay interest? Because if you're late on your taxes, you get hit with interest.
It's true.
2, are they going to tax what they give you back as income next year?
Interesting point. So, I mean, those people, you might want to look into that. 850 people in Monroe. And some good news for Monroe as well. Massac High named a blue ribbon school, which is a very nice designation. And, of course, the Monroe Farmers Market is the state's best. Some great photos of the market there. And, yeah, that's what's happening in Monroe.
Taking a look at the Wilton Bulletin, an architect is going to discuss the significance of Wilton's historic architecture, and there is a lot there, including a house that now faces demolition after being sold purportedly to someone who didn't have plans to demolish it, is my understanding of how that went down. So that's going to be a very interesting story to follow. Your seasonal pumpkin photos and troubling story that we're hearing all too much. A New York man arrested. Police say he attempted to convince a teenage Wilton girl to meet him to have sex. 28-year-old man from Highland Falls, New York. That in the Wilton Bulletin.
All right. Well, looking at the Milford Mirror, a great photo of a packed meeting. We always love packed meetings in this business because it happens so rarely. But the meeting was about upgrades that the state wants to do to Silver Sands, which is a state beach. Right now, there's no parking fee at Silver Sands. It's actually very nice. If you go to Sherwood Island, you pay to park. But Silver Sands, there isn't any. But there's plans to do all these upgrades because, you know, there's not the same amenities at Silver Sands that you have at other state parks like Hammonasset and Sherwood Island. But with those upgrades, they want to start charging a parking fee. So a lot of Milford residents first are upset about the fee. We talked about this on Coffee Break this week. And secondly, they're worried, the ones that live near the beach, that because of the fee, they're going to have more problems with people taking up their parking spots nearby to avoid the fee. So
could certainly see that a possibility.
Right, of course. So that's a big issue. And the schools in Milford are reviewing their walking policy, which has come up before. And it's basically how far students should have to walk before they qualify to take the bus because they were trying to cut back on transportation costs. So interesting story there. And a lot more, of course, a mayoral debate as well, taking center stage. So a lot of good stuff in the Milford Mirror.
Taking a look at the Weston Forum and its goodbye to Miss Joy, the Weston Children's Librarian, Joy Beckwith. Retiring today, she was honored by state legislators for her 27 years of service to the town of Weston. Joy, good luck. Enjoy your retirement. Big event in Weston this weekend. That's Saturday, and hopefully the weather holds for them. That the St. Francis Carnival, and that is at 35 Norfield Road in Weston, and hopefully the rain holds off, or they have a rain date.
I know. Well, looking at the Darien Times, a couple stories that we actually just mentioned earlier this hour, which is the Straight Talk on Heroin, where there was a program with the Darien Police and the Darien Depot, really kind of disturbing details that they gave of how much they're seeing heroin become a huge problem. Just really an honest discussion about heroin there. And, of course, Ernie's reopening, which was another story we mentioned on Coffee Break, which a lot of people are excited about.
I'm surprised they haven't had a parade. That's a big
Susan
deal.
Schultz wrote a great story on that, a nice feature. And the DOT detailing Norotan Heights plans. So a lot of good stuff on the Darien Times this week.
It's October. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so you'll see a lot of pink there and about. And you see it on the top of the Ridgefield Press, where the Ridgefield firefighters are in a pink ambulance. And I see actually somebody I know from my days in EMS in the photo. But they have to have a pink ambulance that they are going to be using to raise breast cancer awareness. Fairfield Police have a pink SUV that they're driving in this month. And Ridgefield's EMT service rated very highly in a survey. Interesting story here because it comes out of a study by the Ridgefield Press. They took a look at Airbnbs, which are a new trend and opening your door. And now Ridgefield's getting tough with Airbnbs because they've found that there are illegal ones operating within the town of Ridgefield.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm looking at the Easton Courier this week, and obviously this was a story that was written for the Weston Forum by Gregory Menti, which is Kyle Navin pleading not guilty to firearms charges. He is currently a person of interest in the disappearance of his parents, Jeffrey and Jeanette Navin. And, that story is obviously ongoing. That broke last week. And so interesting story there, and interesting coverage of that, as well as, more talk about cell towers in Easton and some FOI complaints there. And test scores, of course, which a lot of our papers have been reporting on recently. And compared to similar districts, ER9's test scores are average. So there you go.
Long-time public servants tend to really, they're part of the community. They're crucial. And in Reading, 2 postal clerks retiring this week.
Oh.
A combined 48 years
wow, impressive.
Of service. That Nancy Poliquin and Ray Pacific, they are retiring this week. Speaking to the Reading Pilot, great photo. The old school post office, just you kind of miss those.
Mm-hmm.
Really miss those in these days. And coming up in Reading, and this again, weather dependent, fire department celebration scheduled to be on the town green in Reading Sunday. Keep an eye on the Pilot website for that, because all of these things could be hindered by the weather.
That's true. Well, not to leave out our one New York paper, the Lewisboro Ledger. According to the supervisor there, they're predicting a tough 2016 budget. Well, who isn't? But there's a lot more details on that there. And a salsa fresca opening up in Lewisboro. People always love when new eateries open up. And a cross-country trail moving forward in Cross River. So that's some of your Lewisboro news this week.
Taking a look at the new Canaan Advertiser, Dave Stewart just loves to shoot the night before homecoming, and he does a great job. He really gets some great bonfire shots. And your typical tremendous bonfire shot by Dave. The Rams had homecoming, beat Bridgeport Central Saturday. Actually, then a bunch of those guys, because their game was earlier. Mm-hmm. And on HAN.network, we did the Darien at Greenwich game. And I was having quite a conversation at halftime with about a half dozen members of the Canaan team who were sitting behind my camera post, having finished their game. Also making news in the next station to have in the Saks building project may affect other town spending, so they are delaying votes on projects till they figure out the Saks spending. Some comments from Michael Nowacki, who is running as an independent candidate for first selectman, and an update on the Grace Farms plan. If you know that large tract of land right where New Canaan and Pound Ridge meet, beautiful open farm that's been bought by Grace Church, which for years had its services at Saks Middle School, and they are developing that as a nature center, art center, religious center. Greg Riley with an update leading up to the October 9th grand opening of Grace Farms in New Canaan.
All right, that's going to do it for your front pages. I'm going to give John a second to preview Yankee Fisherman in just a bit, and I also want to remind you that after Yankee Fisherman at 2 o'clock live is Arts and Leisure, and they'll be talking about the New York Film Festival. John, tell us what's coming up on Yankee Fisherman at 1.
Well, we're going to give you the latest on Joaquin, whether it's a tropical storm, a hurricane, what the path might be, because that's changing by the minute. And that's going to affect the fishermen who right now have been enjoying just a great fall blitz along the coast. And one of two things are going to happen. It's either going to drive the fish closer to shore, or it's going to drive them out to sea and just destroy the fall fishing. We'll see what happens there. We'll have the latest on Joaquin at 1 o'clock on Yankee Fisherman. We are also going to take a look at the Connecticut Carp Open and a $100,000 prize if you catch the state record as part of that tournament. And we'll look at some of the events this weekend, some of which have already been canceled.
All right. Thanks, John. So that's Yankee Fisherman at 1, Arts and Leisure at 2. So make sure you keep watching the HAN Network for all our great programming today. That's going to do it. I'll be back tomorrow at 11.
This is the HAN Network, the leader for local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut and beyond.